Welcome back. Today we're going to be doing the Combine Rises. I got 11 dudes for you guys who I thought had a really good Combine, and they had well-rounded Combines, not just the fastest 40s, highest bench, highest jumps. Dudes had well-rounded Combines. I even have one dude who didn't do any of the testing, but he looked really good in the drills, and that's part of the Combine, show who did these. And now I do want to mention these aren't, like I said, there's other dudes who may have had other good performances. These are just 11 dudes that stood out to me, and guys I wanted to mention. And also, you got to take in how much Combine matters. Like Anthony Richardson, I know, spoiler, Anthony Richardson's probably in the video. But, just because I'm going to say he has a really good Combine, that doesn't mean he's all of a sudden QB1 in this class. Combine means a certain amount depending on positions. I like to say the more reactionary a position is, the more athleticism matters, the more Combine matters. So I think for, cornerbacks, DBs, offensive tackles even, you want to see more athleticism in these because they're more reactionary positions and you need that athleticism. Whereas positions like receiver, quarterback, D tackle, some of these not as reactionary positions, you can get away with not being athletic because you're deciding what you do. So we'll go ahead and get into the video, get right into our dude, show you guys who I thought some of the biggest risers are. I got all the measurements for you guys and why I thought they were the risers. Let's get right into our first player. First up, we got Adetomiwa, Adebawore. Now listen, I told you guys, if you watch my pre-combine video, I told you guys to watch out for this dude. He was explosive. He had all the signs, and he came out and did just that. He was one of the talks of the town in Indianapolis last week. He ran a 4.49 40. Really good, especially if you consider him a D tackle. That's an insane number. 37.5-inch vert with a 125-inch broad. I mean, that's just, you can see he's just explosive. He's fast. He can jump. I don't know still what he's going to play in the NFL, whether it's a D end or D tackle. I think he can play both. He's one of those guys where he can play both. It's not like you don't know, he can't really play either. He's the opposite tweener. He's the one that can play both and he could excel at both. I think he kind of vaulted himself in that late first, early second conversation. I don't know if he's necessarily fully in that first, but he definitely solidified himself, I think, as a top 50 pick, whereas before it's kind of he had a great Senior Bowl and but I think he solidified him in that top 50 after his combine performance. He's just such an athletic freak that some coach is going to want to take the risk on him and develop him because he could be an elite player at the D-line if he really puts it all together, and he showed that in Indianapolis. Next up, we got another dude who's kind of flying under the radar right now. We got Jartavius Martin, the safety from Illinois. He's the dude that came out and he didn't have the 40 number that stood out, but he had a 1.47 10-yard split, which shows that short area quickness, because that was one of the questions, coming in. Jartavius Martin, we knew he had great ball skills. He was good fitting the run, kind of safety play, kind of mix wherever he can play, kind of, you can play the run, play the pass. But we had speed concerns. He showed 1.47. That's great short area quickness, and pair along with a 44-inch vert, 133-inch broad. This dude showed he's explosive. He can play quick. I think this is a deep safety class, but I think he put his name up there as one of those top safeties. And I think he was kind of a third, fourth round pick, I think he vaulted himself into serious day 2 contention. I think he's almost guaranteed going to go on day 2, whether that's late second, early third. I really like what he did at the combine, showing that explosiveness to pair along with his ball skills he showed at Illinois. He's a dude you guys got to keep your eye on him. There's not a lot of talk about him right now, but I'm really loving what I'm seeing. Go back and watch the film. This dude could be a really good safety and a dude that you want your team to be drafted in April. All right, now I told you guys I wasn't just focused on measurements. Now, CJ Stroud, you can see all I have down below me. He's 6'3", 214. He didn't do any of the testing at the combine, but he didn't need to. I mean, CJ Stroud came out and he was by far the most accurate quarterback in all of the drills. He looked comfortable, great, impeccable footwork. I mean, he showed everything from the accuracy and footwork that we expected from him. And now with the news of the Panthers trading up to number 1, and Josh McCown, their new QB coach, is enamored by CJ Stroud. He's talked about him many times online. He just jumped to a -350 favorite to go number 1 overall. CJ Stroud came out at a great combine without doing any testing, and I think he could be the number 1 overall pick after that performance, combined with the Panthers jumping up. Listen, CJ Stroud could very well go number 1, and don't be surprised. Even though he didn't test, that's not what the combine's all about. He showed that accuracy really well. I'm excited to see if he does go to the Panthers. It's interesting that his journey from number 1, is Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, Will Levis. He was kind of the guy left out, and now he's the forefront guy for that number 1 overall pick, and I can't wait to see what actually happens and shapes out in the draft with him. Moving on to the tight end position, we got Zack Kuntz from Old Dominion. Tight end, he's another guy, I talked about how deep the corner class is. Tight end is a very deep position in this draft, and this is a guy who kind of that day 3. He's probably still maybe a day 3 pick. His film, he's not as fluid as we want, for hips, and I think he only has 15 starts at Old Dominion. So he's a dude that, like, he's a project player. But my God, is he a project? Like 40-inch vert, 6'7" 3-cone, 4.12 shuttle, and a 128-inch broad. I mean, this dude is an athletic tight end. Like I said, he's a project, kind of like, think about like Jelani Woods, maybe even a less refined than Jelani Woods, but more athletic. He's that kind of project where he's not going to come in and start day 1. But he's going to be a dude where teams are going to want him on day 3 to kind of stash him. And if you can develop this dude, I mean, he's got the athleticism to be one of the elite tight ends in the NFL. It's just whether or not you can get him to that stage with all of the, technique you got to work on. But like in terms of athleticism, he is up there at this tight end position in one of the best tight end classes we've seen. He's one of the freakiest athletes in the whole position in this draft. Next up, we're sticking at the receiver position. We're going with Bryce Ford-Wheaton from West Virginia. He's another dude. He's one of those kind of like day 3 dudes, like Zack Kuntz I was talking about earlier. But like he's one of those dudes where he showed why a team should really take a chance on him on day 3 as a project receiver, just with his athleticism. He's a tall dude. I believe he's like 6'2", 220. Taller dude, but he ran a 4.38 40, one of the fastest at the combine, along with a 41-inch vert and a 129-inch broad. He's just one of the more explosive, quick dudes out there, along with his high frame, his ability to go up and get the ball. He's really one of those like guys, like I think kind of like a Quez Watkins, where he's really fast, good at the catch point for most of the time. Like a dude that you want to take a risk on, that you hope can develop into like that deep threat receiver who can win jump balls and just outrun anybody. He really is one of my favorite like project receivers in this draft class, that if I'm a team that needs receiver depth, I'm targeting Bryce Ford-Wheaton on day 3 as a guy with just tons of upside with his speed and frame. I had to throw my guy Nolan Smith in here. Another guy I talked about in my pre-combine video. I didn't think he was, all the signs said that he wasn't going to test. He ended up coming out and testing. He didn't do all the field work. He said he'll do that as pro day at Georgia, but he came out and tested, and boy, Nolan Smith blew the roof off of Indianapolis. A 4.39 40 with a 41.5-inch vert and a 128-inch broad. I mean, every testing this guy took part in, he was one of the best, most explosive guys we saw out there. And Nolan Smith was talking about this guy coming off his injury. Where was he going to go? Maybe late first, early second. I think after that combine, he's not getting it past like pick 20. I think he's a top 20 pick. That athleticism and explosiveness, you just don't come about with dudes that big. He's a pure leader at Georgia, one of the glue guys in their locker room. I mean, he's a smart guy. He's just everything you want from an edge rusher, and he really vaulted himself up from like, hey, is he going to be a first? Yeah, this dude, if he gets past 20, it's going to be a steal in the draft. I mean, that was the type of combine we had from Nolan Smith. I think if he even looks better at Georgia Pro Day, coming back from this injury, we didn't get to see the film we wanted to on him, missing out on his senior season, but boy, the athleticism is there, and he's going to go high because of that, and he's one of the biggest risers, probably one of, if not the biggest riser from the combine this week. I said early on in the video that, athleticism portrays more to certain positions than others, and cornerback is definitely the most important position to be athletic, just because you have to be able to react to what the receivers are doing, keep up with these dudes that are running 4.3s and stuff. So that's why we got here cornerback from Kansas State, Julius Brents, another dude who had an insane combine. I mean, 6'6", 3-cone, 405 shuttle. He showed that quick agility, explosiveness, short, like small distance agility and quickness, along with a 41.5-inch vert and a 138-inch broad. I mean, this dude was good every aspect of the jumps, agility, acceleration, quickness, and speed. He showed all of it at the combine. Now, this is a very deep corner class, so Julius Brents still probably going to be in that second round. I think he solidified himself as a second-round corner in this class. I got another corner I'm talking about later on too that may have vaulted in the first round, but it's just such a deep class for him. But still, out of the cornerback class, he had one of the best performances out of all the corners, just in that well-rounded combine that showed he's just an elite athlete. It'll be interesting to see what kind of system he fits in the NFL, but those kind of athletes at corner are really what succeeds in the NFL, and he could be that next guy with elite athleticism to go and have some success in the NFL at corner. Next up, we got a dude that not everyone's talking about as like one of those combine riders, but in my eyes, he had one of the best combines. Jackson Smith and NJIGBA, JSN. He didn't run a great 40, which I know some people only care about the 40-yard dash nowadays, which is dumb to think, but nonetheless, this dude came out and had a 6.57 3-cone with a 3.93 shuttle, which are almost like historic numbers. They were the best at the combine. He showed that elite short area quickness, which is what you wanted to see from him, because he's not like your deep threat, burn you down the field. He's that slot receiver that needs to be able to get open quickly, get off that, he's in coverage in half a second. You need to plant your foot and get open, create some space across the middle for your quarterback. And he showed exactly that he's elite at that, along with a 125-inch broad, showed a little bit of that explosiveness and the jumps. And then he's another guy just like CJ Stroud, where in the drills, I was talking about CJ Stroud, he looked confident, comfortable, form really good, really accurate. Jason went through those drills. He was confident, comfortable, catching the ball with ease. He looked very natural in everything he's doing. He didn't really play at Ohio State, and we missed out on, some of the film, just like Nolan Smith. But a dude that, like, at what he does, he's elite. He's an elite slot receiver in the NFL. And if you don't value slot that much, then I could see why Jason, isn't going to be a top 10 pick, because slot's just not as valuable. With the way the game's going with, Cooper Kupp, this dude could be one of the most valuable receivers in the NFL, just with his elite understanding of the game combined with his elite short area quickness. That's going to lead to him getting open a lot across the middle and going to be one of the best slot receivers. I personally have him as my number 1 receiver in this class now, after seeing, just getting back on the train after he missed a year. But you go back and watch his film, he's just elite. If you want to do the traits of Quentin Johnson, or you want the speed and quickness of Zay Flowers, you can go ahead and do that. But for my money, the best receiver is JSN, and slot receivers become more important every year, and this dude's the best slot receiver in the class, and he's going to be like a top 5 slot receiver the day he steps on the NFL football field, and he showed that at the combine, and why he's one of my biggest risers. We're going back to the trenches for our next dude, another dude that I mentioned on my pre-combine video. I said that he's going to have one of the best well-rounded combines of anyone at the combine for their position, and he went ahead and did just that. 1.68 10-yard split is insane for an offensive tackle at his size, along with a 7.46 3-cone, and then 37-inch vert and a 120-inch broad. This dude is one of the best athletes for their size at the position. Like athleticism per pound, Blake Freeland's taken that crown from the combine. He's one of those other project tackles from BYU, but he's a guy that I really want to take a chance on. His form might not be perfect every play, but with that athleticism, you can build a tackle around that dude, get him in NFL coaching, and he's a dude on day 2 that I'm taking a risk on with that athleticism to kind of sit a year or two, learn from maybe some other good tackles ahead of him, and then go out and hopefully be a franchise tackle later on. He's not a franchise tackle right now. He's not going to be a first-round pick, probably not a top 50 pick, probably late second, maybe a third-round pick, depending on how teams view his athleticism versus the film. But he's a dude that could be another one of those projects that you want to take a chance on. This is where Combine's the time for project players to show why a team should take a chance on them based on athleticism. And Blake Freeland put on a showcase for athleticism and why he's one of the best project tackles in this class that you want to be targeting on day 2 if you're an NFL team. Next up, we got the cornerback that I was talking about earlier when I was talking about Julius Brents. I said may have vaulted himself in the first round. Deonte Banks, I think, did just that at the NFL Combine. He showed why he should be a first-round corner. 4.35 40. He's got blazing speed. Only a 42-inch vert, 136-inch broad. This dude is one of the most explosive cornerbacks in this entire class. He has some good ball skills at Maryland. If you watch any of the film, he's a dude that in a deep corner class, he stood apart from the rest of the combine and really put himself. I think he's going to be that late first, kind of like you saw where like Kaiir Elam kind of fell last year. I think in that similar range, I think Deonte Banks will fall. In a team, one of those contenders that are in like the 20s, the playoff teams, one of them is going to want to take a risk on Deonte Banks and develop him into their next corner because he has elite athleticism. He showed some great things on film to go with it, and he is one of the biggest risers because he was kind of floated around as a first-round pick, but I think he solidified himself as a first-round pick and made himself a lot of money at the combine. All right, I saved him for last. Biggest surprise of the video. I don't think anyone expected to see Anthony Richardson on the screen right here. Quarterback from Florida. Now, this is where I have to mention Anthony Richardson had one of the best combines. A 4.43 40, one of the fastest quarterback times we've seen. 40.5-inch vert at his size with a 129-inch broad. This dude is one of the best athletes that we saw at the entire combine. And I think why I have him on the risers is because he showed an elite athleticism that I think secured himself as a top probably 15, probably top 10 pick. I think he kind of secured that top 10 pick with his elite athleticism. But as much as I'm saying he's one of the risers, it's the NFL Combine, and I still think he's the 4th quarterback in this class. Don't get too carried away with seeing this dude throw in shorts and run around at the Combine. Quarterback is still, like I said, quarterback's one of those positions where Combine doesn't matter as much. So he had a great Combine, and I think that helped him, you know, kind of solidify that, hey, a team should take a chance on him because he is that much of a freak. But I don't think it's enough to say, hey, this dude should be the #1 overall pick. Like, he still was missing dudes by 10 yards. He still has a lot to work on as a quarterback. But as an athlete, he's elite, and I think that's why a team will take a chance on him. But I still don't take this as like I think he's the #1 quarterback in the class. I still have him as a quarterback 4, but he showed an elite athleticism that teams will want to take a chance on. Teams always take chances on quarterbacks, and you see all like the Josh Allen, you know, kind of comps, and it's like Dante Culpepper. You know, we see these kind of comps, and I'm like, he's like Cam Newton. Comparing him to Cam Newton is kind of doing him a disservice. Compared to Josh Allen's doing his athleticism a disservice. He's one of the most athletic quarterbacks we've ever seen, but he's still got a lot of work on throwing. That's why I think a team should take a chance on him, but don't view him as like this top 5 pick and the #1 quarterback. He's still a big project, but he is still one of the biggest risers, and everyone kind of knew, you know, he's the talk of the town, so I had to include him in this video. But he is going to be the last player. Let me know other guys you thought had a great combine. I know there were more that I didn't talk about. We'll see even better performances at pro days. You know, the free agency starts. We can start to kind of clear up our mock drafts and see, you know, kind of where we think these players are going to actually fall. But anyways, let me know, like I said, guys you thought. Any guys you disagreed with, you know, I know I'm probably going to get a lot of flack. JSN, people are going to say, you know, he's not elite athletically. You know, let me know what you guys thought about the video. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll be back next week with more videos, and I'll see you guys